In this week's Two Wheels Better, a look back at some of our favourite bikes. We'll see what the police in Northampton have done to crack organised bike crime. But first, here's Jeff Stone at this year's Classic Bike Show.
Well, motorcycle sales are booming, as everyone knows. It's in all the press, but there's still a hell of a market in classic bikes. So what's the attraction with classic bikes? What's on offer to the classic bike enthusiasts? Let's go and find out. Well, there's some wonderful treasures here, and I've got one of them with me, Sammy Miller. You don't mind that as an intro, do you?
Jeff, you're talking about the bike or me?
No, it was you, but and the bike, of course. Now, this Henderson, an absolutely magic-looking machine, looking immaculate with its white tyres as well. And I see from down there, you've got a picture of it when it all started. Yeah. Where did you find this one?
In New Zealand, of all places. I tried in America and the UK, Europe, none there. And luckily, Rod Coleman, who's the guest of honour, we are good friends, and he told me there was one coming up at auction in New Zealand last year, and we bought it, and I brought it back after the race meeting at Pukekohe last year.
And was it complete?
As the photograph, more or less complete. Obviously small parts missing, but all the main components were here, and we've been right through the engine and gearbox and everything, re-enameled it, and it's really basically all 100%.
So what did you have? What sort of condition was it in? I mean, I know you've rebuilt the engine, but I mean, where do you start on a thing like this? I mean, was it a wreck, or was it basically?
There was no serious damage. The engine was badly worn. We had to grind the crank and white metal the big ends and overbore the pistons, put oversized gudgeon pins all the way, valves, guides, springs, all that sort of stuff, you know. But when you're doing them quite often, it's no problem, you know.
Yeah, and when you say it quick, it's no problem.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, one of the most distinctive things that caught me with these white tyres, I mean, and they're not black ones painted white, are they?
Yeah. I find it quite interesting, you know. This is 1916, and the colour schemes and the classic sort of lines of the bikes in those years that really attracted me. I managed to get these white wall tyres. They're made in America in small batches, and a friend of mine out in America got two organised for me, and lo and behold, they're here and on the bike.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is really classic American, and 4-cylinder, 1000cc inline, and of course the gearbox is in the back wheel. It's a 2-speed rear hub, like most people have in their Sturmey Arch or 3-speed push bike. Well, this was a 2-speed motorcycle one.
Right. Well, this might well be the Classic Bike Show. In fact, it is the Classic Bike Show. And here we've got what I think will be a modern classic. It might look like a Vincent, but it's not. I've got with me Ron Kemp here. He's the importer for the RTV and distributor throughout Great Britain and Europe. That's true, Ron?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell us a bit about the RTV, because at first shot it did look like a Vincent to me.
Yes, it's developed from the Vincent, and it started off with an Australian engineer, or a British engineer living in Australia, Terry Prince, who's been involved with Vincents for something like the last 40 years, as I have. And he'd been doing all sorts of repairs and restoration jobs on Vincents, and finding more and more frustration with getting the things reliable and user-friendly. And during this period, he developed a load of new ideas, which eventually, as a result of a chance encounter with a businessman, he got into production, producing a new engine based only loosely on the Vincent. Seldom has anything so comprehensive in the way of a re-engineering job been done. The whole thing's gone from idea to the finished metal. This is a running engine in less than 3 years.
But it's been based on a wealth of experience, on the sort of the failings. I don't like to say failings of Vincent's, but if we're realistic, you know, there were weak points, weren't there?
Oh, there were, yes, and it's easy to be harsh in hindsight, but the original Vincent was built just after the war, when materials were short and a lot of other things were short, and some of the machine tools were worn out as a result of the war effort. So we've got 5 gears in there, unlike the original 4 on the Vincent, and I'd even go so far as to be provocative and say it doesn't really need 5 gears. It's got so much grunt, it could probably manage with 3.
Last thing, most important thing, people want to know, how much do they pay for this then?
The price at the moment is $19,950 plus the on-the-road costs.
Charges,
with
yeah.
Delivery charge, road tax, number plates, this kind of thing.
And it is a built machine. This isn't a kit one. It's not assemble yourself, is it? Or can you just
No.
buy the engine? No.
You can just buy the engine.
Uh-huh.
That's 9,950
Right.
plus VAT.
Yeah. Mustn't forget the VAT.
No, we mustn't.
Okay then, Ron. Well, look, we're going to watch this, the progress of this anyway. But thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, some of you old timers might recognise the name Royal Enfield, but you never saw a Royal Enfield like this one, a V-twin. It's got bullet cylinder barrels and cylinder heads, well, sort of, but this is the guy who knows all about it. Richard, tell us a little about this. What was the concept behind making a V-twin based on Enfield?
Yeah, well, basically what we wanted to do was to produce a classic bike with the looks and feels of a classic machine, but actually have the modern reliability of a new machine.
And this is what you've done with this one.
That's right.
And why actually the Enfield top end? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, it's the only classic design still in mass production out in Enfield, India, and it enabled us to reduce the tooling cost to actually start up.
That's a very good answer, that is. And so it's the barrel, is the barrel, or rather are the barrel and heads pretty well standard, are they?
Yeah, they can be. They're actually modified in line with the design, but substantially they are Enfield India top ends, yeah.
And so it's the bottom end that's really different then.
That's right.
And so, and what have you actually done there? You've made your own crankcases?
Yes, it's a brand new crank, stiffened up. It's new crankcases, new timing drive, new camshafts, and a new high flow oil system.
Right.
So,
The gearbox looks very similar to the old Enfields, is it?
very similar indeed.
Yeah.
We have to rebuild it, and we get it in component form and strip the bearings out, put brand new bearings in. We stick an outrigger bearing in to actually improve the stiffness of the shaft, and we spin it faster to reduce the torque loadings on it.
Have you changed the frame much?
We've done some modifications to it, but it did start off life as an Enfield India Bullet, which is a Royal Enfield frame originally, going back to the 50s. So what we've actually done, we've stretched it, we've stiffened it at the front, and we've stiffened it at the back, and we've actually still retained the stress member aspects of the engine.
How much then? How much for one of these? Is it a complete bike or is it in kits?
Right, if they were actually going to do a lot of the work themselves, they could produce a complete motorcycle on the road for £5,000.
Right. They're putting it in their own frame. And then if they were to buy one off you then as a complete bike?
Around about £10,000.
I look back now at some of our favourite bikes, and this is the Ducati Sport Turismo, or ST2, Ducati's answer to the ultimate sports tourer. A 944cc liquid-cooled V-twin engine, introduced by Ducati in 1997, and it'll cost you around £9,500. But a popular class these days is the one that they're calling the all-rounder. And this is the all-rounder that's outsold all its rivals, the Suzuki 600cc Bandit. The 600cc Bandit is available in two versions. It comes half-fared or naked like this one. It's just about the most popular 600 on the road, and you can have one like this for a touch over £4,000. If you want to stand out from the crowd, then how about a BMW R1200C? The Cruiser was a bold move for BMW. It's probably the only chrome-filled cruiser-style bike that doesn't look like a Harley-Davidson clone. This 1170cc chrome flat twin is an acquired taste, but definitely different. race it. I'll race you back. In the constant battle to market the ultimate sports bike, Kawasaki launched their new ZX9 in direct competition to Honda's Fireblade. At around £9,500, there's really not much to choose from on the price. There's also very little to split them on performance. The ZX9 possibly just has the edge and is a bit more comfortable on the longer trips, but the Blade certainly doesn't get left behind when it comes to blasting through the twisty lanes. Really, you pays your money and you takes your choice. Coming up, organised bike crime. Oh dear, what a sad sight. But an all too familiar one. Your pride and joy has been nicked and you feel sick to the stomach. Well, bike theft and organised bike theft is a big problem. But the police down in Northampton have been doing their bit to try and help stamp it out. And they launched Operation Spanner.
So Operation Spanner was a autocrime initiative. It started in October and November of '96, and we were looking at targeting known autocriminals on our area, the northern area of Northamptonshire Police. We were actually doing a search warrant on a known criminal who had handled stolen property in the past, and we actually found in his kitchen, hidden behind a freezer, a CBR 600 engine.
Right. Which is this thing here.
That's right.
Is this one here?
That's the one.
On closer inspection and dragging the freezer out of the way, you had a look at this.
I had a look at it, and
what made you think that that lump was dodgy?
I was drawn straight away to the engine number, and I looked at that and I thought that doesn't look genuine Honda to me, just in my own experience. Right. Checked with Honda UK, that particular number they've stamped in had never been issued. Right. That gave us enough grounds, what we call reasonable suspicion, to go and arrest him.
Right, and that led you to other people within this very organised ring.
That's right.
Who were pinching performance sports bikes.
That's right, yeah, you've got it.
Why were they pinching, why them particular types of bikes?
Well, the 600s, as you know now, very popular range, a lot of them sold. Right. So, one, there are a lot of those parts about. Yeah. There is the salvage about as well, i.e. because there's so many more of them on the road, unfortunately people have accidents, so there's more frames kicking about and engines kicking about that have come from crash bikes. Right. What the actual professional thief wants, he wants a legitimate document.
Yes.
So the way he goes about getting that is he goes to a motorcycle breakers, pays £1,000, which is a kind of an average figure, for a frame. Could be accident damaged, could have minor damage to it that they could build up from. Right. But the important bit to him is that registration document. Yeah,
he gets that with the frame, doesn't he? That's quite legitimate. They're quite legal to do that.
Yeah, it's quite legal to do that. Once they've got that, they know what the engine and frame numbers relating to that original machine are. Yeah. They can steal a bike, the exact same type of model, and they can then transfer the details from the legitimate document they've purchased onto a stolen machine.
So they finish up with a nick bike with numbers that match the logbook which they have got with their name and address on it, and it all looks perfect.
That's right, yeah. Sometimes they will register them to themselves, sometimes they won't bother.
Right. So these guys knew what they were doing. I mean, how did they get through all the locks and alarms and
That's right, yeah. People that we've spoken to, once we've managed to find the owners, have said, yeah, I had a real good quality lock and alarm system on my bike, but that didn't seem to deter them, particularly if they were intent on getting it away. Right. What we have learnt as the inquiries progressed on is that you put a nice expensive lock on your bike, they'll come along and they'll cause some damage to the lock mechanism, which makes it difficult for when you come back as the owner to ride your bike away. Yeah. Okay. Right. You have to cut the lock off. Yeah. As an owner, and we can all be guilty of it, you'll probably go and buy another expensive lock to put on your bike, but probably only once. As soon as you reduce the security to your machine and put a cheaper lock on it, they have it away. So they pick a machine that they particularly want. That's right. I mean, they can even follow you home, can't they? Find out where you live. That's right. Target it in your own garage. That is exactly what they will do. I mean, we all like to clean our bikes, polish them, leave them on the top of the drive. Yeah. We're advertising where we've gone. Yeah, look at my nice bike. That's right. Yeah. They'll drive around, see something that matches the logbook they've got, and then they're in there. So how did you catch them? I know you're not going to give me any trade secrets, but they must have done something that I don't know, made a mistake, if you like. The big mistake was they became complacent. They were keeping hold of the property, they were ringing the details of keeping the bikes for themselves, and that's how we've caught them basically,
Right.
because they're still in possession of stolen property, which we've been able to trace back.
And talking about that, being able to trace it back, the one that you had the most success with, or instant success with, was the CBR 600.
The CBR 600 again, yeah.
Because
it was data tagged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be, well, almost the answer.
The group were professional. They were taking data tags off the machines, or they tags that are the electronic tags they put on, they will throw those parts away.
Yeah.
But the one thing with data tag is that you can identify the bike in so many different places over the machine.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll miss one, and that was what they did.
Yeah.
They missed the data tag, which led us identify that bike straight away.
And this is the first thing that many thieves see on a bike, a data tag sticker to say it is tagged. Phil Kibler from DataTag. Your system was obviously a great aid to the police in this particular investigation. So how was it able to identify the bike? How does it work?
Well, at the heart of the DataTag system is this little chip about the size of a grain of rice, and this chip is actually a miniature radio transmitter. When it's interrogated with this special scanner, it gives off a unique ID number. And we use 5 of these chips, and its slightly bigger brother that's about the size of an aspirin, into major components on the motorcycle. They will uniquely identify the bike, so when the police interrogate it, even if the normal identifier is removed, still by cross-referencing in our DataTag computer system, they can tell the original bike's identity and the owner's identity.
Right, so 5 of those in the bike, so you obviously, you've worked out the best places to put them. Where do they go?
Certainly, we've chosen 5 of the most expensive modules on the bike. So we took the wheels, the frame, the fuel tank and the seat.
Right, so I mean, I think most people know, it's obvious, one of them you can inject into the foam in the seat, no problem.
That's right.
In the fuel tank, inside the fuel tank?
Yep. This one, about the size of an aspirin, is covered in epoxy resin and just hooked up under the filler cap into the fuel tank. Very easy to fit. The only way of removing it once the glue's dried is to cut the fuel tank open, no residual value in the part.
Right, and then the wheels?
Wheels, fortunately on a modern motorcycle, the wheels tend to be cast aluminium alloy and they're hollow.
Yeah.
Again, very easy to drop the tag into the wheel after coating it with epoxy resin. Once the glue's hardened, only way of removing it is to cut the wheel open.
Right.
No residual value.
And of course on the frame there's loads of places you can, wherever.
Exactly.
Right, but that's the main components, but people pinch and swap and resell body panels. Plastic is very, very expensive on a modern motorcycle.
Very true.
So you protect them by etching a number on it, don't
That's
you?
correct.
I've got one here actually. This is from the CBR 600 that you helped to identify because it was data tag, but this was actually etched on the inside of the panel. Now you wouldn't recommend that normally?
No, we wouldn't. We supply a chemical etching system that allows the numbers to be etched to 12 places on the bike onto these very expensive plastic panels. Normally we recommend that the numbers actually etched on the outside.
Right.
And the reason for that is that these panels are often stolen to repair crash bikes. If it has a visible number on the outside, the panel will have to be refurbished and repainted.
Yeah.
Extremely expensive.
Makes it uneconomical for the thief. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but people will say, but I don't want to have little numbers stuck on my bike and it looks a mess, but you can make them very sort of inconspicuous, and it's a small price to pay, I suppose, isn't it?
Exactly. They can be put discreetly on various places without affecting the appearance of the bike, but certainly affecting the thief's
Massive deterrent to a thief, yeah. Right, so do the police have one of these? Do all the police forces have these, or they have access to them, presumably?
Yes, we provide these free of charge to the police, and we've issued several thousand to police forces.
Because you see police at biking events, at shows and rallies, and I've seen police walking around with these and,
that's right.
and checking, you know.
That's
so
right.
it's a good thing. Right, what's it going to cost? Somebody wants to do this? It seems very, very, very good, brilliant. I'm impressed.
Well, it will cost the average motorcyclist to DataTag his bike about £45 plus fitting. It's possible for him to fit it himself, and it will take him about an hour, or if a dealer fits it, it will take about an hour's labour.
And you can easily save that on insurance discounts, can't you? Because there are many insurance companies now that won't touch you, won't even quote you unless you've got DataTag on your bike.
Yeah, perfectly right. If you have a high-risk bike, often it has to be tagged to get insurance nowadays.
So data tagging works, it really does work. It makes it easy for the police to let you know that they've got your bike. Just like that, no problem. Not all bikes are data tagged, and if they're not, it's a problem. This man, Dougie J, is the stolen vehicle examiner from round these parts. Dougie, if it's not data tagged, you've got to find out what it really is.
Yeah.
So how do you start to find out what the identity?
what we're really looking for is the same you'd look at, say you were going to go and buy this bike. You'd be wanting to check things like the frame number and the engine number.
Yeah.
So the first thing we're going to do is look at the frame number and decide whether or not we think it's been interfered with. You can do it by looking at it and then also by feeling along there. I mean, quite often if it has been ground out, you'll feel there's an indentation in the metal.
Yeah.
From there we'll look at the engine number, and it's the same thing again. You're checking for indentations. Some of the numbers are stamped into a serrated surface, that will be ground flat. A lot of the characters, the letters and the numbers are in a particular style that the manufacturers will use, and it's difficult to copy those.
Right.
So that's another giveaway. Going on from that, if we've looked at it and we've decided that it has been interfered with and we really can't find what the original number was, the only way to do it is really on description. So what we'll do is go to the computer and look for, see how many of this type of bike we've got outstanding. From our point of view, it helps us if you personalise your bike, because what we'll do then is, once we've found out that there's X number of bikes, we'll go to the owners and say, we think we may have your bike here, can you describe it to me? If you can tell me that it's got a tank pad on, you've changed the exhaust, you've got braided brake hoses on, anything like that, any small detail, if I can come back to the bike and they're there, then it's worth me saying to you, will you come up and have a look at the bike?
Yeah.
And ultimately the best identification is you standing here saying, yes, this is the bike that was stolen from me.
Right. So, right, okay. So the worst scenario for you is to phone somebody up and say, we think we may have your bike, what is it like? And they say it's bog standard.
Yeah,
that's no good to you, is it?
There must be so many bog standard bikes on the road. Anything that you've done to change it and make it individual to you is a bonus as far as we're concerned.
And the owners, I mean, I know, are normally quite happy to come and do that, are they? Even if they've been paid out, they'll still come and have a look.
The majority will, because at the end of the day, we all want to crack the problem, and if we can put these people where they belong, it removes the problem from the streets.
Right. And in next week's Two Wheels Better, could this be the ultimate biking holiday? Trail riding in Andorra.